Hey everyone, this is Jennifer Williams, and I wanted to come to you today and talk to you about teaching classes. I was just going to write something out on Facebook, and as I started typing it all up, it turned into something really long. So I decided to make a video just for you guys and talk about teaching classes. So we're going to do several different videos. I don't know how many there will be, but this will be the first one, and you should be looking for a couple more after this. But um, many of you have asked questions about teaching classes, and I want to talk about the different kinds of classes that you can teach. I want to tell you what's worked for me, some things that haven't worked for me, what I've seen be successful in other members' lives, and what I've seen not be so successful in other members' lives. And I just want to be real with you and share with you what's happened since I've been teaching classes with Young Living. So we're going to talk about different kinds of classes. The first one we're going to refer to is a class, an educational class. The second one we're going to talk about is having parties. The third one we are going to talk about are make and takes. Then we'll talk about 101s. And then we'll talk about online classes or Facebook classes or, anything on the internet. And so those are the things that we're going to be talking about in this series of videos. But the first thing we're going to talk about today is a class. And when I think of the word class, this is what I refer to my classes as, are educational meetings, right? When you come together. And so when people hear the word class, they know that they're coming to learn something. So when I'm invited to a class, no matter what the topic may be, I come with a notebook and pen expecting to learn something, okay? I personally feel like this is the most important thing we do as a Young Living educator. We teach people how to use the oils and how to use the product. And the more education we're able to give our members, or we're able to get out there for new people, the more informed they become and the better they are at communicating that information to their members or to their friends who are interested in essential oils. So I personally feel like more often than not, we should be teaching lots of educational classes and get people in and get them knowing the information. And especially early on when you have new members, so many people feel like they're going to mess it up or do something wrong when they use the essential oils. And that is part of the reason we take the time to educate them, is so that they can learn that you really can't mess it up. And the best way to do it is get the oils on them and show them that they can do this. And so that is why I feel it's so important that we be teaching classes as leaders. Okay, I have to check my notes because I can't remember what's next. Okay, so when I first started with Young Living, I put off teaching classes for as long as I possibly could. I sent everybody to my upline. I had no interest in teaching. I'm not a natural born teacher, and so this was really outside of my comfort zone. But I finally started teaching, and I learned that I can teach a class. When I first started, I took someone else's notes and their outline and their handout and used it, and I quickly realized it wasn't mine. And it didn't really work for me. And so I finally sat down and took the time to really put together something that worked for me. And so how I teach and how you teach are going to be completely different. I know Alicia Ellis teaches from PowerPoints. I don't do PowerPoints. That's not my thing. I make an outline, and I can teach anything if you give me an outline on it. I'm good to go. I know I've seen other people's teaching notes and their paragraphs, and that's great. That's what works for them. And some of you may use index cards or flashcards or whatever it is to remind you of what comes next. Like I said, I prefer an outline, and that's what works for me. So find what works for you, and the only way you're going to find that, trial and error. Okay. Trial and error is the only way you're going to find that. And that's okay, because the next thing I want to talk to you about is being real. And some of you are putting off teaching classes like I did because you're worried you're not going to have the right information, or you're going to mess up and you're going to say something you shouldn't, or someone's going to ask you a question that you can't answer. And those are all legitimate concerns. But at the same time, they're concerns that all of us have. And realistically, we're real people, and I can assure you that you're never going to know it all about essential oils. And so you might as well just jump in, take the information you have, learn as much as you can, and then start teaching. If you're waiting till you know it all, It will never, ever happen. So stop waiting to know all the information. You have so many resources at your disposal. And if you don't have resources, contact your upline. We will hook you up because we want you to be able to teach. So when I first started teaching, I taught introduction to essential oil classes like forever. And that was all I taught. I was afraid to teach anything else. And I finally got out of my box and started teaching other things. Recently, I taught a class to almost 30 women on using essential oils for emotional release. And this was a class I had never taught before. I was so nervous about doing it. But the bottom line is I had the resources available. I'd used essential oils for that myself. And there was no reason I couldn't take that information and put it together. So for this particular class, I bought a ton of books. I contacted people I knew that used essential oils for emotional issues and talked to them in person and found out what worked for them and what didn't work for them. I read the books. I even one afternoon hired a babysitter. In fact, 2 afternoons in a row, I hired a babysitter to come to my house and keep my kids, and I left. And I went to the coffee shop and did concentrated study time on this topic so that when I went to teach my class, I was prepared. Was my class perfect? It wasn't. I stumbled through some things. There were some things that I wish I had rearranged in my notes, and I didn't realize it till I was teaching that. But that's okay. I figured that out as I went. The class was really good, and I feel like people learned information. Will it be better next time? Absolutely. And I have it scheduled to go ahead and teach it again really soon. And I'm excited about that. And I'm going to, prior to that class, I'm going to go sit down, rearrange my notes in the order that I think I need to teach them in. And then I will probably frantically pace my living room floor and teach this class out loud to my children several times before I go teach so that I'm prepared. So don't be afraid to try new things. And don't be afraid to just jump in. Just make sure you take the time to be prepared if you're going to do that, which is what we should be doing on a daily basis. Where should you teach? Open up your home. It doesn't matter the size of your home or how messy your home is. Again, people want you to be real. It is okay if your house is teeny tiny to have a group of ladies over and learn about essential oils. And it's okay to host a patio party in the summer, and so nobody has to come in your house except use the bathroom. Use public places. Try to find a room locally that you can reserve for relatively cheap. Ask a friend to host a class for you. Contact your downline members and see if they will have a class in their home for you. Find a place that you feel comfortable in and teach. I do find that when I teach, my classes that I have in my home are much more personable than the classes that I have at, say, Panera Bread. It just doesn't feel as homey and as comfortable as it does when I'm in a home setting. So for smaller classes, I really recommend having them in a home if it's at all possible. And if it's not, get creative and find a place to have your class. My notes might have blown away. I have to figure out where I'm at. And the last thing is be you. Be genuine. Be who you are. Don't pretend to be somebody that you're not, and don't pretend to have all the answers, because you never will. And so I hope this has helped you get started. I can't wait to do the next video for you, and I hope that you've heard something in here that will encourage you to take the next step in teaching classes.